Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne, and today I'm putting my two pet rats into various different video games, because, rats are a staple of video games. They're often like a dungeon enemy and kind of just omnipresent, and I really thought it would be fun to put them in lots of different video game art styles, and there you have it, that's the idea, let's go! Starting off, I had to try my very first time doing pixel art because the video game I'm going to be putting my little rats into first is Undertale. I love Undertale so much. I really think that it was a fantastic game, a fantastic story, and what a soundtrack, you know? And there's lots of fun animal characters, particularly dogs, primarily dogs, but I thought it would be really fun to take one of these really amazing like night designs that they have for a few of the different dog characters in the game and try to apply that to my rats. So first off, there's going to be a lot of things that make this a little harder for me, not just the fact that I've never done pixel art before, but also the fact that all we have is black and white. There's no grays, there's nothing, like no color, and we also have to do a black background with a green grid because that is the part of the game that I was trying to sort of mimic. I feel like that's one of the more detailed parts of the game too, so you know, it would give me more challenge and more detail I could put in. So I first really had a problem trying to figure out exactly how I was going to show that my rats were like two different characters, you know, because they basically have to both be white, and Parsnip's the only one who's white in real life. Clove is sort of a brown grayish color with a white belly, so that was a big issue right off the bat. There aren't many characters in Undertale who have like a black face or body even. It's usually just like plain white monochrome, and black is in the background. So I decided I wasn't going to actually have them be two separate colors, but I was going to try to focus on their attitude and their markings. My little brown rat Clove has a white spot on her head, so I tried to sort of allude to that with that little dot right there on her head. I also tried to show that she's more of the adventurous one, so she's the one who's going to keep the sword, whereas Parsnip is going to have a shield instead. I really wanted to capture the same like art style and design principles that they have in Undertale because they, you know, not all pixel art looks alike. I think pixel art can have art styles just as much as like non-pixel art, and I think that sometimes that can be a lot more mysterious, at least for me, since I'm not as familiar with pixel art. So I tried to really study and figure out how they were designing things, how they were deciding which pixels go where, how to create sort of like a curved shape, like how do they how do they design the bodies of these characters when there's so few pixels to go around. I also decided that even though they're going to be sisters and sort of like a pair of enemies, that I was going to try to differentiate them a little. So while her skirt is the same, I changed the like metal on the breastplate area, I guess, the top portion of their design. I tried to change up just a touch, and I just also made her look more worried because that's her personality. She's definitely more skittish. Next up, you know I gotta do Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing and I've been playing it for a long time. I think I've played 3 of the games at this point, which is honestly a lot because Animal Crossing is a big commitment. Like, you don't just play it for like a week and then you're done. Animal Crossing is like your life. So I feel like 3 is a lot. I did a lot of looking at the references because honestly, this one was really hard. This was a mess. I had such a hard time with it, mainly because, you know, they're 3D characters. It's not 2D art. And as much as I struggled with pixel art, since I'm not really used to it, it's even more of a struggle to try to capture Animal Crossing's unique style and designs when you're working in 2D and they're working in 3D. But I tried to really capture it as best as I could. It ended up looking more like, I guess, like a concept art for a villager than an actual villager. I kind of want to try this again because honestly I'm kind of disappointed with it, but regardless, there were a few fun things about it. I really felt like the way that Animal Crossing warps the faces, like all the mice, I think they're just mice and not rats, but all the mouse types, which I based their designs off of, have the same exact like 3D shapes underneath, but they managed to make them look so unique by just changing like the placement of their facial features and what kind of facial features they have, and I think that's really impressive. It does seem like you're allowed to use hair on like the bangs area, but Animal Crossing characters don't typically have any hair any other place. Like they don't have long braids or anything like that. So I tried to just stick with giving them bangs. I really wanted to use the bangs in order to show again that white spot that Clove has on her head. And then of course the coloration was a really fun point because in Animal Crossing of course I actually can use colors, so we can see Parsnip's lovely pink eyes and Clove's overall sort of like more earthy tones. In Animal Crossing, all of the villagers have one of the like I think 6 or maybe even up to 10 different personality types, and honestly I think that Parsnip would end up with the sweet type and Clove would end up with the peppy type. That's just sort of the energy I get from them, or the sweet type's also known as the normal type sometimes, but yeah, generally I feel like Parsnip would be the shy one who's like sick inside her house a lot of the times, and Clove would be the one running over to you from across the map to like tell you some random fact or try to get you to give her your like most treasured items. I tried to make their dresses sort of like correspond to each other, so like Clove's dress is pink and white like her sister, and Parsnip's dress is like a nice brown color, kind of like Clove is. I spent a lot of time just fiddling around with the shading, trying to render it out to make it look a little more 3D, but it just never, I don't know, it never really worked. I think I need to give it a couple more passes, but there they are. I put them in an actual Animal Crossing background just to see how it would look, and overall I think they turned out pretty cute. Next up, I really wanted to turn them into a Pokemon. Some of you may be thinking, wait, there already is a rat Pokemon, isn't Rattata just the rat Pokemon? Like, what more do you have to do? To that I say no, because I'm not just gonna make another Rattata. I want them to be sort of bespoke, new, unique Pokemon. So I'm going to try to model them more after more Peko, maybe a little bit of Pikachu vibes. Generally, I just wanted them to look more Pokemon-ish. I always felt like Rattata was a very boring Pokemon because it just looks like a purple rat, and I wanted to use this more loosely and not so directly, and be sort of a little more modeled after like the more modern generations of Pokemon. So my first thought was to have them sort of like springing up from their tail. A lot of the Pokemon have like unique ways to use their relatively normal like animal body parts. Like I know there's Pokemon who use their like wings to swim and stuff like that. I just wanted to kind of do something like that. And I also used Clove's white spot on her head, which has been sort of a key like design point in a lot of these, to inspire me to do this like weird little tuft on the top of their heads. I just thought it made them look more Pokemon-ish. I tried to really follow the style of, especially the way they do the eyes, because I feel like that's one of the most like signature Pokemon things. And I decided that Clove was going to be the normal version of this strange new Pokemon, and Parsnip was going to be the shiny version, so that would explain their different coloration. I also tried to make sure that their ears didn't look just completely normal, because they were looking just very like mouse or rat-like. So I wanted to put in some like little fin sort of lines in there just to make them look a little more unique and like slightly different construction than a normal rat or mouse's ear. I considered giving them little wings, but that started to get into like Neopets territory, and I didn't want to go quite that far. And I also gave them little buck teeth, because, you know, rats have very prominent front teeth. I also wanted to make sure to give them like a little bit of a different personality on their face. I know some shinies do have like a different expression, so I wanted to incorporate that, especially because Clove and Parsnip have such like radically different personalities. When I colored in Parsnip, I decided that I was going to experiment with putting some like blue, because I was basically going right across the color wheel from the reddish pink color that I was using to blush Clove's cheeks, and I think it turned out kind of interesting. Obviously it's not super realistic to the rats themselves. I would be very concerned if she was, you know, her nose was blue or something. That would be a bad sign. But I just thought this little pop of like a sort of artificial or magical looking color on their more neutral coloration in general was going to make them look a little bit more Pokemon-like, and generally I just think it makes her look more like a shiny Pokemon. I think they would probably end up being like normal slash fairy type. That just seems right for them. Next up, I had to do Among Us because I remembered the pets and I remembered that little hamster in the ball, and I just really wanted to see my rats in that style. Among Us has a very simple, very thick line style that I was at first concerned about. I wasn't sure if I was going to get enough detail in there to make it actually look like my rats specifically rather than just rats, but I actually felt like by the end that they looked really great and really like themselves, possibly more so than any other drawing that I had done, which was really interesting and a nice surprise. So firstly, I wanted to do the like hat placement as well as the pet placement so that I could put both of them on the same Among Us character. So I guess technically they're not both pets, you know, Parsnip is a hat essentially. And I made sure to use an extra thick inking line because the companions and pets and hats in Among Us are of course very thickly lined to match all of the little space people on the ship. I tried to keep it pretty simple with short tails, and I also made sure not to have too many like closed lines, so their bodies and tails are actually like all one piece, and I was just going to differentiate them with colors, which seems to be more in line with the design principles of Among Us. Honestly, after I drew this, I wanted them so bad to be in the game somehow. I wish I could like mod them in or something. I think that would be so cool. I feel like they'd be remarkably easy to animate with these little stick legs. I copied those stick legs off of the hamster. Luckily the hamster was in there, so I was able to see pretty clearly how they would draw a rodent. I just sort of like made the snout a little poutier, a little pointier, and changed the tail up. And in the end, I think it looks a lot like my girl's. Parsnip's legs kind of like melt in with the character, but I think it's fine. It looks pretty good, and that's basically it. Speaking of video games that I really love, thank you so much to AFK Arena for sponsoring this video. AFK Arena is a mobile role-playing game where you can put together teams of heroes to defeat various foes. The really cool thing about AFK Arena is that, like a lot of role-playing games, there's a grinding element, but that actually happens when you're AFK. So when you're away from your phone, a lot of experience and items for your heroes and stuff will collect passively, and you can come in and collect them. So even if you're kind of busy, you can still play the game and really enjoy it and progress, which I think is really neat. You can also go to various different locations and explore, and you collect heroes along the way, which is my favorite part of the game personally. As a character designer, just getting to see all these fun new characters who have wildly different designs and play styles, it's just really interesting for me, and each one comes with their own story as well. The game also collaborates with some amazing other IPs, including the Overlord anime and Assassin's Creed. And right now is a great time to check out the game because AFK Arena is currently collaborating with Persona 5. Persona 5 is a hugely popular JRPG with a really distinct art style, and AFK Arena also has a really distinct art style, so seeing the two together is actually really satisfying from an artistic perspective. The two playable collaboration heroes, Joker and Queen, are going to be available to be played for free for 3 days, so definitely check out the link in the description to download the game and try it out for yourself. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me put my pets into various video games. Let me know what you thought, and tell me your pet's name down in the comments if you made it this far into the video. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Thank you so much to my patrons, including Nintendo Girl Artworks, Munch Munch McGee, Jess Hranick, Matilda Minchin, Golden Castles, Middle Z, Al Kappa, Winkus Wonkus, Aki, Zero Expectations, Lily Allure, The Expressive Poker Face, Morrissey, Axolotl, Big McLarge Huge, Chris Draws, Subaki, Snow White, The Becky, Liliana Hammond, Mia Lavali, Angel File, Q Musgrove, Nicole Ludwak, Nicolette Queen, Rainwater Pearls, Ice Cream Pal, Best Kaiju, Lion, Ilaria Louie, Nora Cornelison, Joseph Copel, Cola, Your Boy ST, JJ Jade, and of course, Blah 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 Blah.